So last week I posted a reveal video on my 10-gallon bioactive vivarium, and tonight I think I'll give you a closer look at what I've built here. So this is basically a standard 10-gallon aquarium. I got it at Petco. They had their $1 a gallon sale. Just turned it on its side, and I'm using it that way. And then this front piece, I went to Lowe's, picked up a piece of acrylic sheet, and cut it to fit inside of here. And this is 4 inches right here. And then this was the remainder. I think this was 18 inches. I don't know. I don't have a measuring tape right now, but so that was that. And I left this little gap up here, which I filled in with some egg crate. So basically, I glued the acrylic, to here, and the acrylic glue that I had or weld on bonded the acrylic, perfectly to the plastic frame here, and it also worked for this egg crate. So I glued this up here, and I also glued some screen on here. This is just your typical screen, screen door, screen window, the plastic type, glued onto here. So it's screen there, and then this is a piece of acrylic that I glued onto there, and then more screen. And this will give some ventilation. You do want to keep relatively high humidity in here because I plan to keep some poison dart frogs, but you will need some ventilation, at least I think. I've never done this before, so I'm going to try this, but I believe that'll be a good thing. So I put some screen here to allow for some ventilation. And then this is a piece of acrylic there. And then I made this little mechanism to open and close the door. And then for a light, this is one of those, I can't see it, magnifuge lights that I used on my nano Chaeto reactor video. And I stole that off of one of my reef tanks. I put a different light on there. But this, I think, is pretty good. It's this LED light. I think it's 6 watts. It's not real powerful, or it doesn't draw a lot of power, but it puts out a pretty lot of light. And the label on there says it's 6500K, which I believe is like daylight. So it's a really nice white light. And it's, meant to grow Chaeto, which is plants, and I'm going to be growing plants in here. So I think that'll be a good fit. So it's it's got a pretty nice low profile and sits on here. I think it illuminates the tank pretty good. So I'm going to go with that light on here. And then some acrylic hinges, which I got on Amazon, which were glued to the acrylic sheets. And then I drilled a hole down here, and I've got some acrylic rod going into the aquarium with some airline tubing, some black airline tubing, and a little valve. And that's to allow for some drainage. So from the research that I've done, you need to have good drainage. You don't want to have it's set up where everything just becomes a real soggy mess in there. So I'm going to show you what I have. So this first layer here is basically a false bottom. And these are some really lightweight stones, I believe. It's called false bottom. Those are just like this really super porous rocks. They weigh almost nothing. And it just takes up a ton of space down here. On top of that, there's more mesh screen. There's a mesh separating these 2 layers. This next layer is like the soil layer. It's called ABG mix. And that's, supposedly the perfect mixture. It's got, I don't know what they mix into there, but it's all sorts of things, which is, it'll hold the right amount of moisture. It'll stay, I'll keep it, it won't get compressed, really easily. And it's got different nutrients in there for growing plants and everything. So there's the drainage layer, the mesh screen separating them, the ABG mix, and then on top of that I have a layer of sphagnum moss. which will help keep the moisture in and help keep the dirt from sticking to the frogs once they're in there. And yeah, and then the screen is there to keep the dirt from falling down into the drainage layer because you don't want to mix the two. And I don't know if this drain is going to be necessary. I didn't know how much water, because I do mist this thing every day to keep everything nice and moist and humid in there. And I wasn't sure how much water will collect down here, so I don't know if this is going to be necessary or not. I figured if too much water ever collected down here, I could just open this up and drain it out. So we'll see if this is needed, but and that's pretty much everything that's on the bottom. And then I got this little hinge I could use. And then inside of here, if we can see the background, it's really dark. I can lighten it up a bit. So on the background, well, you see this branch coming out. That is what they call cork round. It's basically a piece of cork bark, I guess. So I've got that coming out as like a little branch sticking out, and it's hollow. And I've got a couple of pieces glued to the background, and it kind of gives it like a tree appearance. And then also in the background, it's really hard to see, but I used spray foam, like the Great Stuff spray foam that you get. But this was like the black foam that you can get for like ponds and stuff like that. So I sprayed the foam on the back, and once that dried, I carved it out into the shape that I wanted. I put a couple of planters in there, these little pots, to grow some plants. And then the spray foam I covered with black, not acrylic, black silicone. And then I put a layer of coconut fiber on there, which kind of makes it look like dirt. It's really hard to see. And then also some moss and stuff on there, give it like a natural look. And I think it turned out pretty good. And then I put some plants in here, and I don't remember the name of all of the plants. But aside from the plants, and I also got some leaves in here, some leaf litter. These are Magnolia Leaves, which I basically just took them off of my front lawn because I've got a magnolia tree. But they typically use these, from what I understand, because they mimic the leaves that you would find in like a rainforest. So I've got some of them down there, and it'll give the frogs somewhere to hide and help retain some moisture. Yeah, so it's pretty cool. And then I don't know if we'll be able to see. There's little, if I can find any in here now. Bunch of little, there we go, bugs in here called Springtails. You can see them all walking around on there. And I put these in there. So if you're a reef keeper, these are sort of like your copepods and amphipods and stuff. So I've put a bunch of Springtails in there. And what they will do is they're basically, they call them the cleanup crew. And they're going to help eat any mold or fungus or anything like that that grows in here. So right now I've got Springtails. They also, you can put isopods in here, which are basically like those pill bugs. I don't have any of them in here yet. I'll need to get some. And they will help decompose any of the matter and detritus and stuff that builds up down here. So they help keep the aquarium clean. And then, yeah, so these are just some plants. I put some, so some of these plants I bought online, like this one here. I think these were baby tears. And then that one was called a watermelon plant. It's pretty cool. They look like watermelons, the leaves. I don't really remember the names of most of the other plants, but some of them I got locally, like this pink one I got at Lowe's. I know this vine I got at Lowe's. I think they'll be okay in a vivarium. I just went out front and I picked some moss off of the side of the house. And so we'll see how that goes. I know I was reading some of the forums, and everybody says, "Oh no, you can't take anything from the outdoors and put it in there." And I don't know. Maybe I'll learn my lesson the hard way, but I don't see the harm in it right now. They looked clean when I put them in here, but I don't know. I'd probably give someone grief if they were building a reef tank and they told me they just picked a bunch of stuff off of the beach and threw it in their tank. It'd probably give me a heart attack too, but I don't know. I don't know any better right now. But everything looks okay. And yeah, so that's basically it. And I just wanted to put everything in here, see how the plants would do, see if the little springtail population would take off before I get any frogs in there, because if, that all doesn't survive, I need to figure out what's wrong. So I'm just going to let the plants and everything grow for a little bit, and then before I decide to put any frogs in here. So that was about it. I think talked about this long enough. It's only 10 gallons. I don't know how much more I could say about it, but stay tuned. I do plan to build another one of these and do like a how-to, or at least how I've done it. Actually, I've got enough material for another one. So yeah, I'll do a step-by-step. And then, once I get the frogs, I'll be sure to be posting videos about them. So, all right, guys. I hope you enjoyed this little closer view of this, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Take care.